Welcome to New Day Cleveland. I'm David Moss, and today we're spending the hour at Playhouse Square for the 2019-2020 Key Bank Broadway Series Season on Sale show. And today at 11 o'clock this morning, individual tickets will go on sale for the 7 shows set to dazzle audiences all over Northeast Ohio. In addition, we'll also take a look at some of the exciting things happening at Playhouse Square, including a behind-the-scenes look at the Lumen. So, are you ready to get this show started? Well, kicking off the 2019-2020 Key Bank Broadway Series in October is Summer, the Donna Summer Musical.
This really chronicles the life of the disco queen. And you know, just like any performer, you think that you get to know them through their music. But what you really learn about Donna Summer is her backstory. A life that, you know, had all kinds of challenges with it. As a matter of fact, I had the real privilege to meet with Donna Summer over 20 years ago when she was first trying to get this to the stage. The show sparkles, her personality shines as she overcomes all these challenges.
She works hard for the money, hard for the money, so hard for it, honey, so hard for it, honey.
But what's really wonderful is after all this time of her trying to find the right team to get this story told, finally the directors and the choreographer from Jersey Boys, Des McAnuff and Sergio Trujillo, really bring life to this. What's really wonderful is that she has a catalog of music that you know, right? And this incorporates over 20 of her biggest hits. Love to Love You Baby, She Works Hard for Her Money, all of those songs that for some of us in the 70s got us up dancing. It sparkles, it moves, and it really entertains.
If you've been down Euclid Avenue lately, you'll notice the skyline is changing. I got a chance to learn more about the Lumen at Playhouse Square. Art Falco, I heard you were retiring. I thought I might not get another chance to talk to you, but Art Falco in retirement is not truly retirement, is it?
No. I have a few real estate projects I'm still involved with. Number one being the Lumen.
Standing right here in front of this, and what's beautiful about this building, you take a look at this building and you can almost see yourself in it.
You can.
Or you can see the other building right here.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
The architects thought that we have such beautiful buildings around it, to have the glass and have the reflections of these buildings off the Lumen would be sensational. And what we're seeing right now is sensational.
It is sensational. So let's tell folks a little bit about the Lumen. It's going to be a residence.
It's going to be a residence. It's going to be an apartment building, 318 units, everything from a junior suite all the way to 2 floors of penthouse suites, and also a 530-car parking garage.
It's pretty amazing, too, to think that just a short time ago, there was nothing here.
There was nothing. It was a parking lot.
A parking lot. And 20-some years ago, it was Channel 8 was over there.
That's true. Exactly.
So things have changed.
You can't come back. I'm sorry to say.
You can't come back. So I remember we talked about all the different developments here. You know, we talked about the Chandelier and all the great restaurants and that sort of thing. What kind of impact do you think the Lumen's going to have here?
Well, there will be at least 500 people more living in Playhouse Square, and that's one of our objectives, and that is the 24/7 environment, live, play, work. And so again, that will help the restaurants, that will help our theaters and audiences and attendance and whatever. So we see it as a greater economic development opportunity.
Yeah, it's another great big step for downtown Cleveland, which has really emerged into a great place for a lot of people to live.
Well, that's true, and having a high rise. We need more high rises in downtown Cleveland.
Yeah, and this is a beauty too. So everyone's wondering, they're looking at it, what a virtual tour would be like. What's it like right now when you walk into this job? What do you see? What's going on?
What you see is a construction site, but we have a model suite on the 2nd floor, and that really is a test suite, as all of the subcontractors are doing all the fit outs and all of that. And we'll have another model suite in another month or so, a little larger. So people will see the HVAC systems going in, some drywall going in, So like any other construction site, it'll all come together in the end.
It seemed like yesterday we were over at the Hannah when we were first putting together those little condo units that are so beautiful there.
Right.
We've come a long way from there, huh?
We have. And what is so exciting is to have new construction in downtown Cleveland. We have wonderful office conversions into apartments, but the efficiency of this new construction is going to be sensational.
Yeah, there are a lot of young people moved into the downtown area and some of the places that have been reestablished, older buildings being redone, but there's not a whole lot of this going on, and this is sort of like, this is a pioneer step in the downtown area, isn't it?
Well, it is, and we hope we're a model for more and more construction that will come in the future. But we see it as a real added value for downtown.
Well, you've done a lot down here, that's for sure. So I'm looking up the building. Which floor are you going to be on?
Well, I've been asked that by many people. And I know my personality. I don't think I could take a unit because I would be outside every night seeing what's going on.
Yeah.
So I need to have a little bit of separation.
We started this interview talking about your retirement, and your retirement is no retirement. Your retirement is another adventure. That's what it is.
Well, that's exactly right.
And the Lumen is definitely a bright spot, not to
it is
use
a bright
any
spot,
puns there, huh?
and there's so much interest in this project. We have, of the 318 units, we actually have 326 people that have expressed interest wanting to live here. So, we think it's going to be very successful.
Hold the lottery, who knows?
Yeah, you never know.
Great to see you.
Great, thanks.
Don't go anywhere. More from the 2019-2020 KeyBank Broadway Series Season on Sale show. But first, here's a helpful tip for your next visit to Playhouse Square.
If you're planning a visit to Playhouse Square and wondering about accessibility, whether it be mobility, hearing, vision, or something else, visit our website or give us a call. We want to make sure your visit is a great one.
Welcome back to the Playhouse Square 2019-2020 KeyBank Broadway Series Season on Sale show. It's one of the most buzzed about shows on Broadway with a total of 10 Tony Award wins, including Best Musical. Here's A Band's Visit.
Let me tell you about Petah Tikva, such a city everybody loves.
You know what sets the band's visit apart from every other musical in this season is the very quiet nature of the storytelling. It has a gentle soul. It is a musical that really is about relationships and how the gentlest ideas, the gentlest notion of relationships can come in the simplest times. Waiting for a phone call, roller skating, sharing a meal. It's the story of an Egyptian military police band who actually are going to a small town in Israel and find themselves in the wrong town. So they are stuck, they're in full military garb, and it just tells the story about how they then, the military police, right? Imagine if this comes into your town, and how they, in a moment's notice, have to begin to form relationships and figure out where they're going to stay, and from a culture that is vastly different, perhaps, from the one that they find themselves in the middle of. So it's such a wonderful story, and clearly, the industry has embraced this, because in 2018, the band's visit swept the Tony Awards. And what's especially wonderful is that we had the chance to sit down with the producer, Orton Wolf, recently and hear his story.
Cleveland was an extraordinary place for me to grow up. I mean, I think I had a very unique and kind of an extraordinary childhood. My mother is a Romanian immigrant, runs an immigration practice here in Cleveland, was on the board of Cleveland Public Theater. She was very interested in the arts and in dance and in independent film, and we would go to Cedar Lee, we'd go to Playhouse Square, we'd see lots of musicals there, we'd go to Cleveland Public Theater. Dabama, I mean, she was very interested in me immersing myself in the arts, and my brother. In addition to the exposure I had to the theater through Haitu Theater in US and my life there, I also had this extraordinary amount of artistic impulses coming at me from every direction. And I feel like a lot of that is just Cleveland. I think Cleveland is an artistically ambitious city. There's sort of like an urgency to the art in this city. And maybe that's tied to the rock and roll, maybe it's tied to the idea that it's always cold and a little gray and like people need to express themselves. I don't know what it is, but there's a genuine need for art that I certainly felt as a kid. I always felt kind of cool being from Cleveland when I was around other artists. I think there's just something to it. On the surface, you can say it's about a band, they get lost, they end up in the wrong town, and they leave. And there's truth to that, right, in a sort of a linear way. But if you actually look under the surface, this is about a group of Israelis and a group of Egyptians who, in their own different ways, are overcoming major hurdles in their lives, real psychological and emotional hurdles, and they're only able to confront them and overcome them by this chance encounter they're having with complete strangers. What's more theatrical than that? 33% of it's not even in English, and we don't even use subtitles, right? It's Arabic, it's Hebrew, it's English. We have long stretches of moments where there's literally not a sound on stage. This is a very unconventional musical, to say the least, and to have gotten the kind of critical acclaim we've gotten, and then to have kind of swept the Tony Awards, the only thing I can account that to with whatever role I served, because really it's about the writers and the directors and the performers, but to the extent that I had any impact on that kind of success, I think it was because I had a very clear vision for it. Gratitude is the only thing I can say. That's the only thing I felt, was just this like overwhelming amount of gratitude to like everybody in that room. Because clearly there was just this great amount of love and support. You know, we live in a world where you're always kind of like, who hates you, who doesn't hate you, what do they think of you, who respects you? And so you have this one night where everybody is able to demonstrate their support of you in this piece that I'd been working on for 8 years. So then when the big award gets called and it's Best Musical and we get called up on stage, I remember very clearly walking up on stage and we did the speech and I invited the whole cast. I said, if we win, I want everyone to come up on stage. The band's visit's not about some giant ending with fireworks and, you know, big dance numbers where the world is perfect, because it isn't. The band's visit's about the small steps we can all take towards becoming better. I think that's very personal, and I think if an audience member comes and they lean in and they let go of the conventional idea of what a musical should or shouldn't sound or look like, and they invest in these characters, I think the show pays back in dividends. But I'm excited for the Cleveland audiences, kids my age, adults, whoever it is, and just to lean in and see this story on that stage. And maybe some of them will have watched this video and think like, oh, there was a kid from Cleveland that was kind of behind this. There's nothing better. That's just like, I honestly feel like, you know, I just have to like keep knocking on wood, or like, it's just great. I'm living in a dream.
One of the great things about Playhouse Square is that they offer a variety of programming options. Natalie has a closer look at a new play that explores the issue of migration. This is Cartography.
Yes, this is extremely exciting. It's a new play commissioned by Playhouse Square, and there's no better person to explain than Daniel Hahn. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Natalie.
This is wonderful news for Playhouse Square, but it's here a short period of time, so I want you to let people know what this is all about and when they have to jump on board.
Well, you know, Playhouse Square is commissioning a new work called Cartography, which is an extraordinary play that explores the issue of migration and immigration into this country.
And it's a topic that is clearly all over the news right now. So it's a way to really, I think, use art as conveying the very serious nature of it in a way.
It does. You know, back in 2016, you might remember in Germany, they were accepting 30,000 refugees a day, every day, mostly from Syria during that really difficult time. And two artists, Anastasia Shaw, who is an award-winning New York director, and Christopher Myers, who is a Caldecott award-winning illustrator and author, had connections in Germany, so they actually flew into Munich and started creating artwork with these folks just as a way to say, what can we do to help? Started learning their stories, capturing their stories, and turning them into this incredible play, which we get to have in Cleveland for one special week.
And that's the thing, it's one special week, so I know that a lot of you out there are going to want to see this. It's happening in November.
It is, November 14th,
okay.
One evening performance only at 7 o'clock. We have student performances throughout the week, so the school kids are going to get a chance to see this, meet the artists, and in this play, we have the most diverse company I've ever seen. There are 5 professional actors actors who are in New York City, but they come from places like Rwanda or El Salvador, South Africa, Syria, Lebanon, and they're telling the story of what happens when things get so in a state of such upheaval in your country that you have to literally take all of your possessions, just what you can carry, become all of your possessions, and flee and literally begin a new life.
I know there's also a very special moment in this show.
There is. You know, there's a moment in this play when the audience is asked to take out their cell phones and they click on the Cartography app, and everybody enters their country of origin or where their ancestors came from, and there's a giant map on the stage. And what happens in that moment is you see in real time there are those red lines that crisscross across the globe and all come here to Playhouse Square in Cleveland and show where in that moment everybody in the audience was from, or their families were from. And no two audiences are, of course, the same.
Sure.
It is incredibly powerful to see us all in one moment see that experience.
And coming together as one. There can't be anything more powerful than that. I cannot wait for you to see it, but they have to go to the website and find out the information and get on those tickets November 14th, right?
That's right, playhousesquare.org. Come see us there.
It's going to be spectacular. Daniel, thank you.
Thank you, Natalie.
Coming up, how another Northeast Ohio native is making his mark on Broadway. But first, here's another tip for your next visit to Playhouse Square.
When purchasing your tickets, make sure you're buying directly from Playhouse Square. This way, you won't pay more than face value for your tickets.
Welcome to the Playhouse Square 2019-2020 KeyBank Broadway Series Season on Sale show. Coming in December is a highly anticipated musical written by Tina Fey. Get ready for the Broadway production of Mean Girls.
Now that's a party. A revenge party.
Well, coming in December is Mean Girls, of course, based on the 2004 movie. We learn that Tina Fey is the queen of satire, and boy does she rock it with this particular musical. You know, Mean Girls tells us a very funny story, a tongue-in-cheek story that's so important to listen to, and it's really a theme throughout the season about the use of power in your relationships. No matter what your age, the use of power, the misuse of power can either have you grow into be a mean girl or a strong woman. You know, one of the things I love so much sitting in the audience watching Mean Girls is you could see in the eyes of the audience the anticipation for the famous lines, for what's coming next. They are so with the characters and with the dialogue. You know, this is also the creative team who brought us Book of Mormon. It's directed by Casey Nicholaw, and so you have a sense of that energy. The costumes are fantastic by Greg Barnes and Scott Pask. Scenic design is just full of lights, full of action, and it actually has a great cinematic quality to it. And you know, speaking of lights, the lights are brightest on Broadway, and recently we had a chance to sit down with Jeff Richmond, the composer of Mean Girls, in New York City.
She has everything. She gets everything.
Super excited to bring Mean Girls to Cleveland, you know, because I grew up outside of Cleveland. Going to Cleveland when I was young meant a lot, because it meant like I grew up in a small town outside. Going to Cleveland meant, oh, you're going to go to something special. You're going to go see a ball game or a show at Playhouse Square, or you're going to go to the Good Time 2 and take a boat ride up the Cuyahoga River. It always meant something special. So I have such a soft spot for Cleveland. To get to work with my wife again on something, well, we worked together a lot anyway, but to take something that she had written 10 years ago as a movie that was a comedy and add songs was quite a process, because you had to figure out what pieces did you want to keep from the movie, what pieces did the audience really want to see again, you know, what did you have room for to revisit, and then what made it new. And the biggest thing is like, well, you don't want to just be the movie on stage, you want to make it new and fun and make it its own thing. And the songs became a big part of that, and it's fun to write with her. She's terrifically funny, she's patient, she's great, she's always got the ringer of an idea that comes in when we're all stewing on something. She'll come in with something that'll make everybody's mind go, oh yeah, why didn't we think of that the other time? But she's very easy to work with, and this was her first theater, not her first theater thing. She has written plays before, but her first musical theater thing. This was fun for me because I have been I was a musical theater major at Kent State, and I'd written a lot of musical theater pieces, so I was able to like take a lead a little bit in it and say, no, we need, and I need song here. You don't really dream about, I'm going to be in the movies, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to have a TV. You dream like, I'm going to do a big theater piece. I'm going to be on Broadway, because that's what you did when you were young. You know, you didn't go out and make a movie. You were in your high school production of Guys and Dolls or whatever. So it's a big deal. So to now look at this now and say, oh, this thing that we wrote together is a big hit on Broadway, it's super exciting. As soon as the first image comes on stage, the audience goes crazy. And they love it, and that makes you just love it more. People really love the show. They get excited about it, they know the movie, they know they're going to see something really fun. The word of mouth is great on it. And you sit there, and by the time you get to the end, people are on their feet, and they're cheering for everybody. Because I think it touches everybody in very specific ways that they can look at it and go, I'm Damien, you know, I get it. And Damien is so good, and the things that he's telling us are great. Or I'm Gretchen, like girls going, I'm Gretchen, and look what she's doing up here. And I think they identify with it in this situation. That subject matter of whatever bullying and cliques and being treated poorly and being treated not in an unkind way for people who you thought were your friends is tough. But I think that Tina's such a good writer and so good at finding the dark side of the light and vice versa, that we were able to navigate through that really well. And the songs help too, because then some dark stuff happens, then suddenly everybody's singing. And dancing, lots of dancing too, lots of big high-stepping dancing. It's like going home. I grew up outside of Cleveland, and going to Cleveland when I was, growing up meant like, oh, you're going to go something special. It was like going to the big city. You're going to go see a show, or your parents were taking you to a fancy restaurant or something, but something special was going to happen. So now knowing that I'm going back home, I'm going to my the city that I love so much with something that I care so much about, and it's so much fun, we're just all super excited about it.
Mean Girls will be at the Conner Palace this December, and it's just one of the many reasons you should visit Playhouse Square around the holidays. Natalie has more.
Well, there is no doubt that the holiday season is once again bringing some tradition and excitement here to Playhouse Square. I have David Green joining me right now. This is the time of year to come and see it. Not only is it decorated beautifully around here, but there are so many great plays and shows, and a lot of it coming back year after year.
That's right. It's a phenomenal, magical time to be at Playhouse Square. There's so much going on, so much activity. Almost all of the theaters are full between Thanksgiving and the end of the year. So many great things to see, and a lot of free, fun family activities as well. Of course, the Festival of Trees will be in the
That's huge.
In the Allen Theater lobby, and there are so many beautiful trees. It's like Playhouse Square turns into a selfie spot, a photo op. Like come get your pictures taken at Playhouse Square, either out on US Bank Plaza. There's this huge ornament with great background of the chandelier or of the Playhouse Square retro sign. Come inside, and the huge tree that's inside the KeyBank State lobby, or all of those trees that are over beautifully decorated in the Allen Theater lobby.
You have to come early for sure, because you want to be able to have that time to really explore, because it is such a sight to see. But the shows themselves, again, there are ones that I come year after year because you just have to, and families make it a tradition. A Christmas Carol being one of them.
Right. There are a couple of traditions this season. So you have A Christmas Carol presented by Great Lakes Theater right here in the Mimi, Ohio Theater. A Christmas Story, which the Cleveland Playhouse does every year, and is a fan favorite. People love to come see that.
I've had to see that a bunch too. You can't go without it.
The new Cleveland Ballet and their presentation of the Nutcracker is stunning. That over in the Hannah Theater, and this year they're doing 12 performances of the Nutcracker, so it has really grown.
Wow.
And 120 people on stage, a lot of local talent as well as dancers from around the world. It's going to be phenomenal. And if you are interested in the Nutcracker and you want a little twist on the Nutcracker, we have the Hip Hop Nutcracker this year. It'll be the third year that we're doing that. It's a twist on the traditional story, but told through hip hop, and it's phenomenal. Curtis Blow, one of the old school rappers, is the MC of the show, and it's a ton of fun.
Wow, Now tell me that doesn't sound exciting. And that's something different. That could be a new tradition that people start having. I love it. A lot of them come back year after year, but I know there are also some great performances, musicians coming.
Right. Dave
as well.
Kaz is coming back with his Christmas show. He brings some friends, Jonathan Butler, Melissa Manchester coming with him. Of course, Cleveland's own Grammy-nominated Jim Brickman will be here, a phenomenal musician, and he brings his friends as well. Cirque Musica, that is a new show for us. That is Cirque, really fun, family-oriented Cirque performances with a full symphony orchestra backing them, playing holiday traditions. And of course, White Christmas.
Oh,
White Christmas is here for a week.
How could you forget about White Christmas?
Right, the Irving Berlin's White Christmas. It's here for a full week, the week of Thanksgiving. So it's a great time if you have family in town or you're looking for something to do over Thanksgiving. It is, it's a sight to be seen.
Well, let me tell you, if you're thinking already in advance and you are better than me about it, and you want to get Christmas gifts for someone, and you don't know what to get them, why not get them tickets to come see a performance?
Sure.
Perfect time.
Sure, or gift cards.
Or gift cards as well. Look, see? Contact David Green himself. We'll go to the website and you can find out more information about that. David, it's good to see you. Thank you so much.
Nice to see you too. Thank you.
Still to come, our behind-the-scenes look at Disney's Frozen. But first, here's something to consider next time you visit Playhouse Square.
Coming to Playhouse Square with your little ones? There are booster seats and changing tables in the theaters, and many of our area restaurants offer children's menus.
Welcome back to the Playhouse Square 2019-2020 KeyBank Broadway Series Season on Sale show. And prepare to be transported from Russia to Paris in the beloved story of Anastasia.
Your circumstances, why wallow in regret?
So in February of 2020, we will travel from the Russian Empire to Paris in the 1920s, where we meet a young girl named Anya, who has assumed the persona of the Grand Duchess Anastasia. Now this is a famous legend that is actually based in fact, where Tsar Nicholas II and his entire family were held captive in the royal palace in 1917 when the communist insurgents were taking over. They sadly were all executed. But there was a belief that this one daughter, Anastasia, somehow survived, and that has become legend over the years. There was an animation that sort of brought this back into the fold in the late 90s, but now we see this as a musical, and boy does it sing.
No, the world is fickle, life is a leaky sieve.
Because it really, the creative team who brought us Ragtime, Lynn Ahrens and Stephen Flaherty, and as well as Terrence McNally, have created this story that is so rich and so wonderful and mysterious that you want to believe her, you want her to buy into her story, but you really want her to really find her way.
And so, someone said,
she's clearly lost, clearly looking for a memory, any memory, but what we find here that there are a couple of con men who are trying to plant the memories in her head. It is such a wonderful night. The costumes are beautiful, it evokes an era, it evokes class, it evokes obviously a time gone by, but an intriguing story and a wonderful night at the theater.
Okay, we've made it halfway through the show without Natalie stopping for lunch. But guess what? She's at Sung's house enjoying sushi and more.
Well, let me tell you, when you are here at Playhouse Square, this is a must-stop to eat for dinner, but you can come here for lunch too. It's one of my favorite places, Sung's house. John, thank you so much for having us in here.
Okay, thank you for coming too.
We picked the best time. We're right here during the lunch rush hour, so if you see people running back and forth, it's because these waiters and waitresses have to get to these hungry people. Everyone loves your food. They love it here.
Thank you.
So how long have you been doing this? How many years?
Around 6.5 years.
6.5.
Yes.
And people keep coming back for more. How do you get food out so quickly to people? You work really fast back there.
Just when I just run over in the one by one, just step by step. If you want to run over in the step by step, right way, you just make them faster.
You make them delicious. Now, I love sushi, and he was kind enough. He said that he would make a couple of rolls for me.
Yep.
So which 2 rolls do you want to make? I circled the ones I was hoping you'd make, so we'll see if you agree. Maybe the dragon roll?
Sure.
You like the dragon roll?
Yeah,
and
I
what
like
about the
dragon.
electric Charlie?
That's good. Good
Okay,
choice.
so which one are you making first?
So I make the right now is in the electric Charlie.
Okay.
For inside of in the avocado, and then is the ear, top of in the spiced tuna on the top.
What's your favorite fish? What do you like?
I like the in the in the Asian people like the in the raw fish sashimi style.
You like the sashimi?
Yeah, I like the sashimi, and then in the I like the tuna, salmon,
You like it all.
Yeah, that's why I worked in the restaurant.
It looks so good. Now, on top of sushi, you also have, and I'm going to pull up in the menu, you have great lunch and dinner specials. And the other thing I love to get is the bibimbap.
Good.
Do you like that one?
I like the
So
one.
it comes in that nice hot stone bowl, and they put the egg on it, and you can get any kind of meat you want on it. The chicken teriyaki is really good here.
Yes.
And then you can finish it off with dessert. You have dessert too.
Yeah, we have in the mochi ice cream and tempura ice cream. And yeah, something is in the
The
good.
tempura, so is that fried ice cream, huh?
Right.
You know what? I'm surprised I haven't had that here yet. That's shocking to me, but there goes the spicy tuna on top.
Yep.
He gives generous portions too.
Okay, this one is.
So now it's done. You're taking it away from me.
I'm sorry. Now it's done. So this one is in the electric Charlie.
This is look at this. It's beautiful. I gotta try it to wrap this up. John, thank you so much for having me in here. I love your food. I'll be back for more. Do you suggest the whole bite at once?
Yes.
Yes, that's what I thought. That's why he allows me to dig in. So good.
You're lovely. I like it.
That is delicious.
Thank you.
Come get it. Electric Charlie. You don't want to miss it. I'm going to eat.
Coming up after the break, 3 more shows making their way to Playhouse Square. But first, another helpful tip.
What could be better than dinner and a show? There are more than a dozen choices for dining before or after your performance in the Playhouse Square district. Check out our website for choices.
Welcome back to the Playhouse Square 2019-2020 KeyBank Broadway Series Season on Sale show. It's a global phenomenon, and it has wowed audiences for years. Here's Jesus Christ Superstar.
Jesus Christ Superstar has been on the road, what seems like forever. And I will tell you, I actually kind of thought I had seen every version of Jesus Christ Superstar that I ever needed to see. It's very popular. It's considered one of the greatest stories ever told. Of course, it is Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice's considered one of the masterpieces. And it is the show that brought the electric sound of amplification and electric guitars and all of that sound emerging first out of the orchestra pit with this musical. But what is so different about this is that this puts the music forward. It is actually based out of the concert version that recently took place at Regent's Park in London. And I will tell you, I was so deeply moved when I saw Jesus Christ Superstar presented in this concert-like version.
God, thy will be done.
What's so interesting is that this really is based out of a concept album that is based on the last week of Jesus's life. So we meet him as he is going through all of the stories that we know, and we meet Judas, and you feel empathy for everybody. You know where the story is going, right? You know how it ends. But I will tell you, I was so swept up in the music, I was so swept up in the characters in such an unexpected way that when it came time for the crucifixion, I was absolutely caught off guard. The injustice of it, made me want to like shout to the audience, let's get him and save this guy. Like, what are we doing here, folks? It's a wonderful night at the theater, and I think it's a wonderful night because it's such a big surprise. You think you know Superstar, but you've never seen it this way before.
From one iconic production to another, coming to Playhouse Square in April is My Fair Lady.
So in the spring, we travel back to London. Eliza Doolittle, we learn, is My Fair Lady, and she actually is so much more in this story. Of course, you know the music, but there are some very interesting touches that take place that make this so relevant in today's world. You know, it's based on Henry Bernard Shaw's play Pygmalion, and it's all based on that fantasy about finding the perfect woman or shaping the perfect woman. And there's a couple of twists in the storytelling that you realize that this really is her story. We follow her through the scenic design. We follow her as her costume changes, how the costumes tell the story. And boy, if there was ever a story that was about class, it is My Fair Lady. You see the world that she came from and the world that thinks it's the world she needs to be in, and how her garb changes along the way as she matures and as she gains confidence in her role. It's a perfect musical because it's immediately built in with conflict, the conflict of class, and what various classes might think is proper and acceptable. It's so beautifully told and so wonderful. Again, you think you've seen My Fair Lady. It is actually one of the golden revivals of all time. This would be one of those A titles. But it's My Fair Lady like you've never seen her before.
Coming up next, a sneak peek at the highly anticipated musical Frozen. But first, here's one last tip for your visit to Playhouse Square.
When parking for a Playhouse Square show, know that there are a number of parking garages and surface lots in the area. Valet parking is also available.
Welcome back to the Playhouse Square 2019-2020 KeyBank Broadway Series Season on Sale show. The secret is out. Disney's Frozen will be in Cleveland next summer. So what can audiences expect? Here's more.
I just cannot wait for this magnificent tale of Anna and her sister Elsa to come here to Playhouse Square in the summer of 2020. This is such a great story to me, because Elsa has all of these powers and she doesn't know how to use her power. When her power is misused, things happen, bad things happen. And in order for her as a character to take the journey to see about where life should take you, she doesn't find that through finally finding a boyfriend. It's her younger sister Anna who is her hero. Frozen is actually the perfect date night because it really is a love story. It's a love story. It's about relationships. It's about honesty. It's about integrity. It is about all of those things that bring joy to our life and bring growth to us. So you can bring the whole family. But I was actually very surprised looking around the audience when I saw it to see that there were adults, there were people on dates, there were sisters, but it's really a show for everyone. Now, recently, we had the chance to travel to New York and really hear from the team that brought this to life.
It's not a surprise, probably, to your to people watching this in your audience, and certainly my dear friend Gina knows this. I'm obsessed with Cleveland. You know, over 1 million people have come to see our shows there, and given your population base, it's like everyone coming 3 times. So, and we've done every single one of our shows there. So to be able, and we've even created one there on the record. So to be able to have your theater and Playhouse Square be part of really the first year of Frozen is really important to us. Friends of mine were making the movie, and when it was finished, in a rough cut, I asked if I could see it, and I screened it in a Disney screening room here in New York at midnight, and I texted out to them immediately, when do we start? Frozen is an absolutely classic grown-up musical. The way Bobby Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez, who were, of course, Academy Award winners for their songs, including Let It Go from Frozen. But what they've created is a proper grown-up musical. And I could tell looking at the movie about the stakes, the way the songs are storytelling songs, and the opportunity for production value and numbers, things that don't exist in the movie at all, that become huge numbers in the show. It just seemed so ripe. I could see it immediately when I looked at the movie. Clearly the number Let It Go, which we present quite differently in the show, because of course it's a showstopper. It's a big song with one person on stage, and what she does to the stage and what she does to transform herself in the middle of it is thrilling. We reveal in the number in 1 second a dress that takes 40 days just to bead by one person. So, I mean, it's a pretty glamorous effect.
Right now we're in the Frozen costume studio, and this is really where everything costume related happens for us. This was where we really explored design and research for the show. It's where we sourced fabrics from. It's where the design team is based. Currently it also serves as a fabric storage place for us, and we'll be mounting the tour out of this room as well. Our challenge is really to make clothes that feel exactly the same as the ones in the animated film, but that are made out of real fabrics that exist in 3 dimensions and with gravity. And so that's been really tricky. We were set up really well by the animators who had done a lot of research, and so the clothes have a real basis on them. They're not complete fantasy. So this is Anna's coronation dress. And again, this was a place where we took a lot of inspiration from the animated film, and the animators laid a really clear ground plan for us. And we just introduced, again, elements of historical dress and handwork on this. It's fully embroidered and ribbon embroidered. This is all done by hand on the skirt. This is our own little bit of Disney magic. This is, it's a fantasy of a dress. We really wanted it to feel as though it's just growing organically out of her, that, there's barely a dress there, it's just ice covering her. So there was a lot of development that went into the dress. It takes one person 6 weeks to fully bead the dress, so we have to plan ahead. But it's all hand painted, all 3 layers of it, and then we fit it on our actresses, and hopefully everyone's excited when they see it. The monster costume. So Monster was sort of the last costume in the show. Christopher Orm, our designer, came up with this idea for the Princess in Pants. It's really the moment where she takes it back for herself, and it's really an empowering thing for her. It's amazing. It's a long process. We've been working on it for over 2 years now, and so it's really the culmination of all of that effort on stage, and it really allows us to bring all sorts of skills to bear, and that's just ultimately a really satisfying thing.
There you have it, the lineup for the Playhouse Square 2019-2020 KeyBank Broadway season. And we're just minutes away from individual tickets going on sale. So for all the details, log on to playhousesquare.org. And for sure, you don't want to miss this incredible experience. For Natalie Herbick, I'm David Moss. So long.